Hello everyone, it's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel, tap that notification bell and like this video. That does help me keep making videos and I would appreciate it majorly. So I'm going to change the ceiling flush mount light in the bathroom. That's what I'm going to show you here. This is a super easy procedure, but you know, as a warning, you should always hire an electrician to do any kind of electrical work if you don't know what you're doing. You know, I'm not suggesting, you know, this is just educational and stuff like that. So it's a really simple procedure. I almost don't even feel it's worth making a video of it, but I'm doing it from beginning to end. And it is something you come across quite frequently, you know, as a homeowner or whatever, so you might find it educational. So the first thing you got to do, obviously, is cut the power, you know. So I'll head down to the breaker box and cut the power. I already have all my things labeled from just knowing what's going on in this house and stuff, and it should be number 12. All right, so number 12, that's it right there. Dude! All right, so I am, this is the actual light. This is 11-inch flush mount. I measured it before I went and got it. It's exactly what's up there now. And actually it was 11.5 inches. If you look at it closely, the actual diameter is 11.4. So I'm replacing it with something that's identical just so I don't run into any complications. It's a very simple thing anyways, but you're just going to basically screw, you know, I'm just showing you the parts before I get up there and undo it and show you what it looks like or as we put it together. This goes on the very end, you know, after you put on the dome. You'll see when I'm up there, you're gonna end up screwing this into here like this. Then you'll put the dome on, you know, while you're up there, and then this, and then screw this onto here. I mean, this is like, you know, totally common sense stuff, but I'm just showing you because it's part of the procedure. So the big thing is you got to just be careful when you're up there that you don't drop your dome, you know, while you're trying to, you got to hold it up there, make sure you don't let go at all while you're screwing it in. You know, the worst thing you want to do is to have this drop and break. And it's almost as much to replace this as it is to go buy a whole new one. It literally is. This is probably $7. The whole thing's 10, something like that. If you're lucky, if you can find this, you know, but you have the black wire and the white wire. That's what you're going to be hooking up there, and you're going to be twisting them onto the black and white wires up there and attaching this wire nut too very tightly. As I understand it, your black is the hot. That's the power, okay? And the white is the neutral. You know, I've looked this up. I'm not an electrician. Again, this is just educational. I'm just telling you what I do and what I know. So, you know, I'm not telling you to do this yourself. And this is the grounding wire here. But as I understand it, you know, the power's coming in from the black. That's why they call it hot. And that's where you're more likely to get shocked if the power's on there. And then all the unused power, as I understand it, is returning on the neutral. And I guess that goes back to the breaker box from all the different circuits and eventually goes on to the electric company. I don't know if they are able to recapture that power that doesn't get used, and a ton of it is lost, you know, in traveling from point A to point B, dissipating as heat, etc., I guess, but I don't really know. But that's the best explanation I know of. I mean, you basically have a circular, you know, circuit, you know, that's closed. And so power that flows through that circuit that powers the light travels to the next wire, to the next black wire, but eventually comes back through all the white wires. You know, there's all these like parallel circuits that meet up and eventually meet up at the breaker box and eventually meet up at the power company, I guess. Did you need to know that? Probably not. So, and this is the grounding wire. This is basically for your protection. It's supposed to basically prevent you from getting electrocuted. Essentially, you know, if there's an surge of power at the light or wherever, whatever the device is, a plug, you know, and you happen to be working on it, you know, it more or less just jumps to the grounding wire so that it doesn't jump to you. That's my understanding of that as well. But again, I'm not an expert. All right, well, let me get up there and take it down, and I'll show you the rest. So I'm gonna jump up here and you know, unloosen this. Sometimes you might need to take a pair of pliers and do that without, you know, because it's too tight to do it with your fingers. And it's that simple, you know. Then there's 2 screws that like I just showed you, that you have to loosen. And I'm going to be using probably those existing ones. Let me turn around and show you. So I'm going to unloosen these screws. Hopefully when I open that there's a proper box in there, and I'm not going to be having to deal with more nonsense. I mean, that's sometimes why you resist changing things. Like I said, I was going to leave it, but it's only $10 and it just looks terrible. And the whole bathroom would look bad just because of one crap, you know, not a good light. So, but I mean, it's really, do I need to show you this? And you just need to loosen them a little bit, because we're going to turn that and then bring it down. It's stuck to the ceiling because I painted it. I need to hit that with a blade real quick. I'll take my light out of there too, so it doesn't break. I'll be back. You know, you just need to, that's actually the wrong way. Whoa. And there is a proper box up there, so I'm cool. It's one of the older ones where it's a little tight, but it doesn't matter. It'll be just fine. And actually, no, there it is. It came down. So see how this is the smaller screws. Smaller screws for you know, screwing it into the box. It's an old style box. The newer ones are plastic and deeper, depending on what you buy. And this is the longer screws that I was showing you. Okay, this has a red wire. You'll notice typically that's for, you know, for special. A lot of times in your lights and regular outlets. Again, I'm no expert. This is just educational. I'm not advising you to do this. But you'll just have, you know, a typical Romex cable that's got a black wire and a white wire and a grounding wire, a bare copper grounding wire. This has a red wire, you know, because it's either for like a ceiling fan or even for like a fan inside of a bathroom, you know, and that'll have, that's for that, you know, for the 2. And the red's a hot wire too. It provides power to, like, say, the fan in addition to the light. And it might have 2 switches that hang from it, whatever. So, but that's gonna just remain up there idle. That really deserves a wire nut that you just put on it. So it has just 1 set of wires for this, which typically a lot of lights, ceiling lights, are just one set of wires, because it's basically the end of the circuit. You know, I mean, the light switch basically just cuts the circuit, so the power is no longer going to the light. When you turn the light switch on, it closes the circuit so that the power is flowing to the light, you know, and completes it. And as soon as you flip the light switch off again, it cuts it again. It puts a break in that circuit so that it's not getting power anymore. But many lights, it's 1 set of wires, and that's the end of the circuit. But many other places, outlets, just other places, you know, there's 2 sets of wires there because it moves on to the next outlet or to a light switch or just some other setup. You know, with a 3-way switch, you'll have 2 sets of wires in there, but I'm just not talking about this now, and I have to relearn that every time that I'm faced with that. And they're wired differently depending on what you're talking about. Going to check the light switch too, just very quickly. I'm just curious if that red wire is attached to anything. I believe it more likely than not is not, and is just sitting here idle. So, which means there's no power to it, and I don't have to really worry about it. And I'll show you. We'll find out. I can't even see yet. So it's just by itself. So there's, I mean, that's one end of it. The other end is up there, and so there's absolutely 0 power running through it. You know, I just wanted to be sure, and I could put a wire nut on that just to cap it off, so it's not, I don't know, and just so it's done. Undo, the power's already off. You saw me turn it off the breaker box. So I'll undo one of these just so you know what it looks like, and you're just gonna redo it the same way. You know, the grounding wire is already attached, so a lot of times you'll open the boxes and they didn't bother to do that just for whatever reason, because it was just a homeowner who didn't, you know, follow it, do it properly. This person didn't attach the light grounding wire, naughty, being whatever. You'll find that a lot, and especially with a light, because the odds of somebody ever being up there messing with it, it's like never, you know. I mean, other than when you're changing it like I'm doing now. Unlike an outlet where somebody could be plugging something in, you know, this is just something that's on the ceiling that never gets touched unless you're changing the light. But I'll attach the new one too. Just wrap it right around, undo that screw a little bit, wrap it right around there and put it inside there. And you know, these lights typically have very, I don't even know what you call these frayed wires where there's just many little wires together. This is, you know, normally for lights and outlets, this I believe it is a 14 gauge. The wires are labeled by gauge number, and that's a 14, typically for a plug, a common outlet, or a light that requires a little power. You know, it's 14, which is pretty thin and easy to work with. As the heavier gauges, the thicker wire, the number goes down. So, but I'm not advising. I'm just showing you what I do in some, like one of these activities in my job. So, but a 14 gauge is typically for a 15 amp outlet, you know, whereas a 20 amp outlet will require a 12 gauge, which is thicker and it's harder to work with. It's harder to bend and get into a hook to be able to screw it underneath the screw and so forth. And you know, but that's for like, for more powerful devices like a refrigerator or a microwave. So, but you know. Okay, you're going to attach this to here. I mean, this goes almost without saying, but you know, I'm just showing you what to do. And obviously you're gonna need enough length so that when the dome goes over it, and you make sure you don't break the dome, because I have a tendency to do silly things like that. In fact, that looks like it's too long. It is. So I'm gonna have to, you know, move that nut a little bit down further and screw it in farther, which is just fine. All right. Yeah, so that's what it'll look like, you know, about. That gives you plenty so that you can screw it on there. You don't have to screw it on super, super tight, so that you can unscrew it. It won't fall down. There's plenty of threads there that I just showed you. But, and then you can, I wanted to show you how far. But I really did. This kept unscrewing on me on the other side whenever I did this. These things are really cheap, you know. But... and I'm gonna tighten that up. I never had that issue before, ever. I've done this probably 15 times, you know, but, so it's about that long is where, you know, you want this nut to be, where to stop it from going in. In fact, and just tightening up on this nut, you know, it shouldn't be just kind of hanging there. Tightening up on that does, I think, prevent the other side from coming undone when you go to screw it off to change the light bulb. That's the trick, I think. So this light has two wires. You just kind of, you know, twist them together a little bit because it's got two bulbs. The other one I only have one. Put you right there. And, you know, you just twist it around a little bit. Try to line up the plastic at the same spot. Kinda. Just use your best judgment. And you're going to twist that on basically until it won't twist anymore. You know, I like to over tighten things, which isn't usually a good thing, but with this I like to make sure it's really tight. So, because it'll walk back out eventually. But there'll always be contact in there, but I like it tight. And that's it, and it can actually hang there so you can do the rest of your work. All right, I got the, it's all attached, the whites and the blacks, the grounding wires attached. I tell you, 9 times out of 10, that thing's not attached, because it does get in the way. But then you're gonna just pack that stuff in there, and you'll poke your finger down in here, make sure you can see through. And that's probably one of the more difficult things is lining it up on the screws and, you know, getting it up there when you can only see through the holes a little bit. Let me do that now. So that can be a little tricky part is, you know, pushing the wire nuts and wires into a good, you know, spot in the utility box or the light box, the electric box, and then just getting it onto these wires here. I mean these screws. It's hard. You can't see through the holes and so forth. This is just a little tricky. I don't feel like redoing it because it's kind of a pain, you know. And to get them both on there and then twist it and get it on there with the wire nuts in a good place and all the wires packed in a nice compact way so that it's out of the way and stuff can be a little tricky, but you know, it's not that hard. So, but it's done. Now I just got to tighten it up and put it in a light bulb and test it. All right, the moment of truth. I'm going to go turn the power on. All right, voila. So now I just need to put the dome on, screw it on, and I'm done. I'll do that real quick just to show you. So now you just put the globe on, and you know, you just want to be careful. People like myself, I have a tendency to just sort of let my guard down, and it's moments like this when you do something silly, you let the thing drop and break because you're just not paying attention. You think you're all the way done when you need to just kind of stay focused for that last little bit, and you just got to make sure you keep that hand on there, holding it up there. That's it, man. That's it. You know, it's not that thrilling, but it's done. Okay, so that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below, and I will see you in the next video. Later, man.